Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining me for Daily Spark with Dr. Angela. I am your host, Dr. Angela Butchester. You guys know what I like to do on my show. Say it with me. I want to enlighten, inspire, and empower you to become your best self. Now, Scripture reminds us that the tongue is a small thing that makes grand speeches, but a tiny spark can set a great forest on a fire. And that's what we want to do today. We want to get you fired up about my guest. I'll be spending time with Sadie Chapman today, and we'll be talking about her book, My Personal Fables, Book 2, The Legend of the Mystical Horses. So go on, get comfy, get cozy, get your coffee or get your tea, because we are about to get started. Hello, Sadie. Thank you so much for joining me here on Daily Spark with Dr. Angela.
Yes, hi. Good evening, Dr. Angela, and thank you for the invite to your lovely radio show tonight.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining me. Now, as is tradition here on the show, we always give our guest an opportunity to tell us a little bit about themselves. So my first question to you is, what makes you you?
Oh, well, I like to do things unique, so I like to possibly help others in general, referring to the way that I think, I see, I feel, and just experience things, basically. So I like to feel that I'm just a humble, loving person that's happy to help anyone any day of the week, referring to people and animals, or even our planet. So I'm just happy to be alive and enjoying life to the full.
I agree with you there. It does. It makes you feel good when you're able to help others feel good. So I can definitely understand that. Now, when it comes to being an author, is that something that you've always wanted to do, or did you find that this was simply a way in which you could share your stories and your information and knowledge?
Basically, it all started off from my nan. She used to kindly make up stories through objects and ideas of her own when she was younger. And I started doing the same as she was starting to pass away. And she said my stories were as good as hers. And she went, "Oh, Sadie, you should have put them onto paper." And that's exactly what I did. So the original book, The Legend of the Horse, which I brought out 4 years ago, done really, really well. So I updated it and made it a series, and that's why it's now called My Personal Fables series.
Oh, I love that. Now, my listeners know I talk about my grandmother all the time, and I love how, just like your grandmother did, you give they give wonderful bits of information. They have such great insight to who we are, and they're able to, in their wisdom, give us these great bits, these nuggets of wisdom that really make a difference in our lives. I'm so glad that you followed through with that. I love it. I love it. Now, I was going to ask you about the title of the book, and you kind of explained it, but I want to give you an opportunity to tell us about this particular title. How did you find that the title came out of the writings? Was this the initial title when you started writing? I know that many authors say that the title comes to them much later on in the process. How did you come up with the title for this book?
Well, basically, I got the title instantly through following from the original book, The Legend of the Horse, the first one. And it's all based on referring to the story itself, mystical horses of different kinds, from a unicorn to a kelpie, to a pegasus, to a unicorn. There's all to a water horse, to a water dragon. There's so many different reasons why I actually used that title, and it was the easiest way of explaining it.
Now, when it comes to the ideal reader, I know that for many authors, you have a reader in your mind's eye, if you will, as far as like the age group is concerned. I like to ask the question this way: would you say that your book is appropriate for someone as young as high school, so between like the ages of 14 to 18, or do they need to be a little older? Do they need to have more life experience to be able to follow along? Or does that even matter?
No, basically what I've done with my personal fable series is I've actually written it so it's from 7-year-olds upwards this time round, where the original book that I first wrote 4 years before actually was for teenagers and adults only.
Thank you for that clarification. Now, as far as how to properly read this book, book number 2, for some authors, they will present their work in a way where they kind of help take us along on the journey, in that they will say, read chapter 1 or section 1 before reading chapter 2 or section 2, right? That you need whatever is before in order to understand what is present or what will happen in the future. Others will say, no, it's reader's choice. You can kind of start wherever you like, and you can make heads or tails of it no matter where you pick up the book. Does it matter when someone is reading book 2 here? Should they start at the very beginning with, say, chapter 1, or does that matter?
I would probably advise them to understand the story, because there's 5 different stories combined into one, which eventually comes to one big story. So if they did go to different chapters, they wouldn't understand why that's happened in the first place. And that's the reason why I've explained before, referring to book 1 can be read on its own, and so can book 2 be read on its own, but they also can be continued as a sequence, because it's about the main character's secret parts of his life, and that's why it's suitable for younger children, teenagers and adults as well, because basically it's all about him first as a unicorn, or a king unicorn of Earth, and in the second one, it's more on book 2, it's more based on him being a hippocampus, which is, i.e., a water horse, which looks like a horse body but has a beautiful swallowtail of a fish. So he's living out his days with Neptune and his family, and he brings up this beautiful princess, Helena, who he then tells stories about his past life, and she wants to experience living on land herself for 24 hours, or she felt pulled to it. So she felt that she was different in other ways and wanted to find out why. So it's all about different varieties of reasons and purposes, but friendship, love, happiness, survival and so on. So yes, it needs to be read first from chapter 1, but obviously, of course, when everyone's read the book and knows the story, then they can use or go back to whatever they wish to, because it all won't make sense either way.
Now, this is book number 2. So I have to ask, have you introduced new characters in this book? Is this storyline a little bit different, or is it more so a continuation? Tell us about the characters, or what you have included in book number 2. Now, here's my disclaimer, and I give it all the time. That is, listeners, you know what I'm going to say. If you want to know how the story ends, if you want to know all the bits and pieces, what do you have to do? Buy the book. So if you want to know all of the bits and pieces, definitely pick up a copy. But with that being said, Sadie, can you tell us about the characters in this book, and how you have created a new space for this new introduction?
Yes, well, basically, book 2 is about Sequence being a hippocampus stroke seahorse, which means he looks like an ordinary horse, but yet he has a beautiful swallowtail. So it means he lives in the sea with Neptune and his family, and he helps bring up a princess, Helena, and he's her guardian, and believes that she was so special that he then tells stories of his past, and she wants to experience land for herself, as she always felt pulled to it, and she felt different to her own species and wanted to find out why. So there's Hades is back in it. There's completely different characters of all sorts, like Unisys, Kelpies, Pegasus, all Greek gods this time. There's loads of new adventures and loads of new characters. So I just would like everyone to read it for themselves instead of giving too much away.
And I can definitely understand that. Now, when when we are reading the book, and part of the title is Book 2. Just so people understand, this is a series. We're talking about Book 2, My Personal Fables, Book 2, The Legend of the Mystical Horses. So with Book 2, would you say that it was easier to write than book number 1? Was it different to write? What was the writing experience like for you?
Well, actually, you are correct, Dr. Angela, because book 2, my apologies, it only took me a year to write because basically, as I knew, it was a continuation referring to Seacrest and his second part of his life, living in the sea. It literally just flowed beautifully and naturally, and the more that I wrote about him and more about the sea, everything just flowed into line with everything. And obviously, it was also a bit more of a personal storyline, this one, so it's a very extra special book, and that's why it's 3 times as big as the others. But basically, it is an amazing adventure, uniquely done, and it's never been done before. And it's all about loads of trust, teamwork, happiness, freedom, and survival. So yes, absolutely amazing book in itself.
And I like that you are touching on those subject matters, and I think that for so many people, they are trying to find that personal freedom. They're trying to figure out how to express themselves effectively. We are trying to, I think the world in general is trying to find a sense of balance. It seems like everything has kind of become a little more hectic or chaotic or disheveled, if you will, and the fact that we have been through a pandemic, and that kind of made us a little discombobulated. So I think that everyone is trying to find that happy center again. So it's nice that your book talks about that. Now, how important was it for you to make sure that you centered your book around such important topics, and to help the reader go along on that journey of not only reading your book, but also finding their own freedom and sense of center?
Well, basically, what it is, my idea, should I say, Dr. Angela, is that it's based on my ideal and opinion of how British legends and Greek legends or myths actually came about, and why these beautiful creatures possibly could have been created years before us humans were born or created on this earth through God. So it's about how the unicorns made the earth a better place after the dinosaurs reigned, and how all this uniqueness and all this beautiful, wonderful experience of magic where there's mermaids, water dragons, and even all had purpose at that time, because we have statues, we have mementos, we have stories, we have poems, we have everything actually situated in this world and this time and place about these creatures ourselves. So I thought of having an idea of writing this story to actually experience and let the reader experience the possibility of how they were created, why they were created, and what they've done for us before us humans were even created on this earth.
I like it. I like it. Well, Sadie, it is time for us to go to break. But before we do, can you remind everyone, please, what is the title of your book? Where can we get a copy? And, of course, how do we stay in contact with you?
Yes, of course. It is on Amazon and on top online bookstores. You can contact me on mysticalgoddess.co.uk or Facebook, The Legend of the Horse, on My Personal Fables. Thank you.
Alrighty, everyone. Now you know where you can get a copy of the book. We'll be back right after this. And we are back. Thank you so much for joining me for Daily Spark with Dr. Angela. I'm your host, Dr. Angela Chester. My guest today is Sadie Chapman, and we are talking about her book, My Personal Fables, Book 2, The Legend of the Mystical Horses. Now, Sadie, my next question for you is about your introduction to fables, to legend, to myth, and all of that. I know that considering the type of family that I came from, we were introduced to philosophy, and we were introduced to a lot of, like you said, the legends or the folklore of various cultures, simply because it's a part of education. Did you find that you were introduced to the legends or the fables? Was that a part of your schooling, or would you say that was more so personal family moments of them sharing the stories with you?
Some of it actually was to do with schooling, as I'd done Greek mythology in my secondary year. And some of it was just research, and also I've always loved anything unusual, magical and beautiful, and my nan did as well. So it was a little bit of family as well, but a lot of I've always been a curious and interesting child. That I used to go to the library a lot, so I used to read a lot. So through that, I actually thought, how is this possible? You know, in certain books, practical books, they don't really explain things. They just tell you the basics. So that's when I thought, actually, that's not been done before. So let me have a go. And that's why it's called My Personal Fables, because it's my opinion of what could have actually happened.
No, I love that. I remember as a child, Aesop's fables being introduced to us, and the various stories that even if people aren't aware of where the story originated as far as origin, country of origin, many times we've been introduced to them and don't realize that we've been introduced to them. It's just a quote or something that someone says to make a point, but they really do have such a larger meaning to help us maneuver this thing called life. So I love that you're reminding us of a lot of our childhood memories. So thank you for that. Now, when it comes to the overall message that you want for your readers to take away, would you say that there are one or two nuggets of wisdom that you want to make sure that when they finish this book, they would have picked up these nuggets along the way?
Well, I have been told that there are quite a lot of messages and understanding written in my book, referring to it's inspiring others to just read, inspiring others to just write something themselves, or be truthful to themselves, be proud of themselves. It's about being a leader. It's about being a team worker. It's about so many different ideas of just being, even though these are fables, they are very similar to us, because we are personality and the characters and their opinions of itself and survival and so on is so much like us. So it's teaching us and advising us to enjoy life, because we all have our ups and downs in life, and there's light always in the tunnel. And basically, it's basically on regarding, living and just being who you are, but inspiring others to just enjoy life, enjoy magic, because magic's all around us all the time. We see it every day, but because we live in it, we don't really appreciate what we do have. And because of the COVID, what we have had, I hope now that this book will uplift children, adults, and people of all special circumstances, and actually make them look forward to life again, and give them a bit of peace and love and understanding and happiness again after what we've been through these past couple of years.
You are so right there, and I find that people are really longing for the sense of normality again, but it seems like most folks have realized that though the pandemic was a horrible thing, that the way that we were doing things, that we were starting to lose touch with friends and family, those things, those core things that are really important to us, we had started to kind of lose a grasp onto those things. And I think the pandemic kind of helped give some people a moment to recalibrate, if you will, to be able to say, you know what, I do need to call my mom, or I do need to spend more time, even if it's on, just a video call like FaceTime or whatever, but I do need to spend more time with my friends and family, and find that connection with people once again, and not just with the other tangible things. And there's nothing like a child that has been encouraged to use their imagination. They turn out to be great and amazing people because they're not afraid to think about the what if part. And that leads me to my next question for you. You are, again, we're talking about book 2, but you have written book 1, you've written book 2, but I think that you are someone who appreciates not only your imagination but the creative process. Should we assume that there will be a book 3, or at least a book next, when it comes to the series that you have?
Yes, referring to book 1, it's now gone audio. It's out on Audible at this present moment in time. And basically as well, I am writing another book of a new series called The Blue Angel Chronicles, and the book 1 of Aurora, which will be a completely different story as to last. It'd be about a young girl from Venus who's been brought up in the USA, and when she's 16 she realizes who she is. She's a blue angel, and basically she has to go back home to defend her planet, people, with her guardians. And also I've co-authored some spiritual books, Warrior Women, with Angel Wings, and the original new one, which will be out in August, is called Silver Lining and the Purpose of Gifts. So looking forward to having that out soon, which I've done 2 chapters with. And book 3, as you just mentioned, will be called The Legend of the Welsh Dragon and of its kind. And I plan to have that out maybe, Dr. Angela, in 2024. So there's lots of going on, and I am so happy and so proud of all the achievements and also what my books have done for others around the world.
Oh, congratulations. That is so awesome. I find that so many people have been able to use this this time of reconstruction, if you will, during the pandemic. So many authors and artists I've talked to have found this time to be creative for them, because we weren't able to get out and about and do some of the things that perhaps would have distracted us. But instead you were able to sit down and write and get all of those ideas out of your head. So congratulations, not only on book 1 being available on Audible, which means now we can take it on road trips with us since we're able to go out and about, but that you are also moving on to a book number 3. I think that is great. Congratulations with that. That's awesome, Sauce. Now, I want to kind of shift gears just a little bit and ask you some questions for our aspiring authors out there. They're one of the biggest groups of folks that email or contact us with questions. Thank you to everyone else that says, great show and all of that. We do appreciate you doing that. Now, so with that being said, every author has to decide how they are going to put their book out to the world, right? So you are now at that point where it is, do I self-publish and do everything myself? Do I use professional services and, kind of pay them to instruct me, guide me, lead me, do all that good stuff? Or did you choose to hire an agent and have your agent pitch your book to the big guys? How did that work out for you?
Well, basically, Angela, I self-published, and every company that's come to me are all based in the USA as well as the UK, which But it all boils down to people actually purchasing my book for their children, and they've read it themselves and loved it themselves, and they've then gone to their main companies and promoted it for me because they were inspired by it themselves. So there are lots of companies now that are promoting my book on their own accord, but it's been wonderful all the same. My name and my book in New York Times in January this year on the front page with others, which was amazing, and it was my original first book story. I'm also my book's gone to LA for the book fair. It's going to Germany, and it's going to another country and London next year. And yes, it's in for a big competition as well. So everyone, if you love my book, please vote for it, because it's not just for me, it's for you. Everything I write is not just for my benefit, it's for everyone's, because I want to bring joy back into your lives. So thank you.
Oh, I love the LA Book Fair, the Book Expo. It is a huge event. It is amazing to be a part of it. I know that I have enjoyed going both as an author as well as going just, as the general public, and to see the amazing authors that are there. And it is an inspiration. So congratulations. That is definitely a move in the right direction as far as getting your book out there. Because there's some really great authors that they're not motivated by ego, and when they have an opportunity to meet and greet with other great authors, I find that some authors will say, hey, you have a great book, I'll share that with my friends, or I'll purchase a copy of your book. So you never know how networking can really work out. So congratulations on the
Thank
LA
you.
placement as well as the London. That's awesome sauce. Now, when it comes to any bit of advice that you wish you had known when you were still in the process of writing, many authors that I've had the chance to speak with have said, I really wish I knew that it was going to take this long, or that the process that A should come before B, but I didn't know that at the time, and hindsight ends up being 2020. Are there any bits of advice that you can give to our aspiring authors when it comes to make sure you do this, or the suggestion would be do this first before doing that?
Well, my opinion is, yes, I have learnt the hard way, but that's what we do in life, and in one way it's a good thing, because that's what made the book so strong in itself. But I would advise other authors just to be proud of who they are, do what they think's right for their books and their stories. Don't change it because others tell you to. Stick to the original story that you originally wrote. Yes, editors can be helpful, but don't let them change what you've written, because you're the one that's writing the book. You're the one that owns the book, and you're the one that's expressed this for a purpose, and that purpose is to help others, and you need to get some abundance from your books as well. Capable of doing and have these talents as well, by all means, please go ahead and put them forward, because after all, it is your piece of art, not no one else's. So good luck to you all.
Sadie, thank you so much for being on with me today. I have so enjoyed my conversation with you today. If you can, please, one last time, remind everyone, what is the title of the book? Where can we get a copy? And, of course, how do we stay in contact with you?
Yes, of course. It is on Amazon and on top online bookstores. You can contact me on mysticalgoddess.co.uk or Facebook, The Legend of the Horse, on my personal fables. Thank you.
Absolutely. And thank you again for being a guest on the show today.
Thank you very much, Dr. Angela. It's been a great divine experience, and God bless to you.
To you as well. And listeners, thank you for spending time with us here today as well. You could have been anywhere, but you chose to spend it with us today, and I thank you for doing so. As always, may the Lord continue to shine his face upon you. May you receive his grace and his mercy in all that you do. Until next time, everyone, remember that you are blessed in the Lord. Have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.